Welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Starts, and with me today from the beautiful city of Detroit, Flyboy Rich. What's happening, Flyboy?
What's going on, Bubs? What's going on, man?
Oh, man, I'm glad we could get together and do this. Obviously, we were hanging out together when we were visiting Detroit for the Midwest Talent Awards. A great time had by all, but definitely wanted to get you on the show, talk about everything that you're doing, this community that you've been building around yourself, in the city, new stores opening up, all kinds of good stuff happening. Before we get into all that, though, I really just want to give you an opportunity to give us a little bit of your backstory and how you got started in music and why you keep going.
Little backstory on me. I grew up in the East Side City, Detroit, Michigan, 7 Mile area. I started when I was younger. I started in high school, actually. I started recording and producing people more so first. And then I branched out to the music more. I was working with my cousin John Boy. I learned from like people like Hell of a Kid, the producer, stuff like that. I ended up getting picked up by Bazaar and Eminem team by a lady named Christina Campbell. And then from there, I just moved up through Empire and started working with the radio stations, Unsigned Hype, and people like that from the beginning. And yeah, we branched off now. And now I'm with Empire, doing some stuff with Rock Nation and doing some stuff for Universal as well.
Yeah, pretty incredible. A kid from Detroit being able to climb. I know your Spotify, monthly listeners up around the 90,000 mark. Pretty incredible to see the success that you're having. But what really attracted me to you is the way that you give back to your community and to new artists, right? I know you got a club that you kind of run a weekly at. Now you got the store where you're able to, have events and everything there. So go ahead and kind of shout those two places out and tell us about each one of them.
Yeah, so shout out Club Tane, that's right there in Redford. That's my guy Tane Nail. He actually worked there. He actually the owner there. He actually gave me opportunities to put people different there. So I actually been working with a lot of people like the radio station. Shout out Akeisha Baker and Big Dog Blast and a couple more people. And then yeah, we got the 248 Hotspot in Pontiac. That's the new clothing store. We got clothing there. We have a barbershop there. We have a recording store there, and we have an event center downstairs. It's close to the area around the Crowfoot and Electricity. They usually do a lot of EDM and hip hop shows around there too. So it's big in downtown Pontiac, and yeah, that's the main two areas. And I'm working with a few more people, like a guy named Gladiator. We got a few spots like Nikki's Nightclub. We got a few spots actually, probably like over like 10 different spots. So we got multiple spots that we working in and trying to bring new artists in and show new opportunities for people.
Is there someone in your career along the way that kind of inspired you to help others? Because I don't know that, especially in the hip hop community, that there's a lot of people that are about others as much as they are about themselves, right? And like I said, that's really what attracted me to you, is that while you have a big following and you have your own career, I always see you talking about everybody else and putting other people on. Was there somebody in your career when you were starting out that really kind of like taught you that, or is that just a part of who you are?
It was maybe so the experiences I was going through, like having to wither around through situations when you through the industry, like dealing with certain people, like finding out who trustworthy. So I kind of made it like that foundation for me to be like more trustworthy, or more so the person that can help the independent artists not go through the situations that I went through when I was younger.
Yeah, and having, I've never had major labels sniffing around my music or anything, and I haven't had those experiences, but I've spent most of my life producing, promoting my own shows and performing on stage, and exactly where I am, and maybe it's just where we are in life. I don't know how we woke up one day and now we're kind of the OGs of the scene, respectively, in our areas. But you look around and there's so much young talent out there. but they're coming into a much different industry now than when we grew up. Early 2000s, a lot of us were still chasing record deals and getting out there, and now those are pretty much non-existent, right? Unless you're already creating records and have built a following of your own, nobody's coming from the industry to give you a big pile of money. So it's so much different now, but the skills and the opportunities for independent creators and people that can develop skills and be about their business, not just their art, the opportunities are ripe out there.
Yep, absolutely. I feel like they should broaden their horizons, like learn different stuff, especially learn about the business of the industry or learn about marketing plans and stuff like that. Stuff like that kind of can like give you an actual leverage with the industry and stuff like that. But I believe they should come back to actually looking for talent as well, because talent is what's bringing the most money now. They see they losing a lot of generations of the money, and the streaming and stuff is going down now because they really looking for just online talent instead of really actual talent. So they just looking for somebody like that's an online personality. I mean, not as talented.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the pendulum is swinging back, right?
Mhm.
Since 2010 and Spotify really taking all of the money away from the record industry, that you feel like it's coming back. People want ownership again. People don't want
Mhm.
to have to worry about losing their entire library of their favorite songs because they didn't pay Spotify this month, right?
Yeah,
And I think you're seeing a cultural shift back to ownership, and it's really leaving the door open for the independent. I mean, we've been in this game a long time. We've all seen
mhm.
the guys out there slinging their CDs. For me, I saw it a lot when I was in Vegas and playing around in there, and guys, putting headphones on you and trying to sell their CD on the walkways and out of their trunk of their car,
Absolutely.
Afro Man style, right? And not that Afro Man ever stopped doing that. I saw him last year. He was traveling around with Kid Rock's big music festival, Rock the Country. And that man got off the stage and went back to the merch booth, and he was back there taking pictures with everybody. Everybody. And I was just like, man, after all these years, you never forgot who you were, and you are still the same man out there on your grind. And that's why he's still so culturally relevant today when, we're still
Absolutely.
vibing to his hits from, the early aughts, man.
But you see, everybody from that golden era, they all still trying to come back now. So they see what's going on and they like, oh yeah, we can still make an impact now. Like, for example, the Ludacris's, the T.I.'s that's coming back out now. So all them dropping albums now is showing you that the real hip hop is back and not just the regular norm things that you want to listen to.
And I think that's it's really good to see. It's good to see artists coming back and making, not just a song to go viral or a TikTok dance and seeking that short flash in the pan fame, but really being about their artistry again. And it's why we liked the artist that we did. Obviously, I grew up, graduated high school in '04. Eminem was everything. Right. And
Mhm.
especially for a white kid in rural state, right? I grew up in the middle, the Black Hills of South Dakota, not a
Oh
big
yeah,
urban influence out there. But all of a sudden, our community had someone to look up to and appreciate the art form without feeling that you weren't, that you were appropriating someone else's culture, right? We had
exactly.
someone to look up to. And obviously, the man's skills speak for himself. But I think something that gets overlooked because of the superstar that he became was the marketing and the business and the vision that they had. And not
Hmm.
to get too far into the weeds about this thing, but in a society that is fueled sometimes by outrage, I don't think anybody knew how to capitalize on that more than Eminem, especially in the music game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Eminem had the most unfiltered music I ever heard. I was like, oh wow. I was like, okay, this is this is exciting. He got people going for sure with his music for sure. And he was very lyrical and yeah, he very talented for sure.
Well, and I think something that we touched on as well is that he never forgot where he came from either, right? And bringing
Mhm.
along the crew in D12. Can you talk about that as someone from Detroit and in that scene? What, the explosion of that, what effect that had on the city and the scene inside of the city, in that moment?
Yeah, Eminem and D12, they was a big breaking point for the city. It was a lot of people that was on their way up, like Blade, Icewood, and people like that, but they made a bigger impact through the city. Them and I say like Royce the 5'9". And when they collabed together, that made it even better. So the D12 scene, that made it real big for us and it blew up and it gave us a lot of notice on there. And Eminem was already giving us a lot of notice with, with him and Dr. Dre working together. So that was kind of already a big move. But once that did, it kind of branched off and made a lot of more stuff happen, like with the T Grizzlies, the Big Shines, and everybody else. So it kind of made us like a broader horizon. Then we start getting the people like the Icewear Vezos, the Sada Babies, and everybody else, the Babyface Rays, the V's, and and me, and we all just start branching off and moving around.
Well, and now you're ready for this next wave of artists, and I think
Hmm.
that's where you're kind of the tip of that spear, because you're reaching out and you're bringing these young men and young ladies on and putting them on stage and teaching them the ways of how they're going to be successful. It is such a long road. It's a hard road being an artist, and that overnight success, while it appears that way, is very
Hmm.
often the culmination of a decade or more of being in the game and really dedicating yourself to it.
Yeah, I feel like people feel like the made it overnight thing. They don't see the work that was getting in years before and years before, like the grind that was put in. Like a lot of people, I can probably even say like the Sexy Red. I'm pretty sure she grinded a lot before. I've seen a lot of stuff she did before she started popping off and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff we do behind the scenes that took a lot of time. They don't be understanding that part of it. Like it's not an overnight thing.
No, and that's what we are constantly trying to educate artists on, and a big part of the Midwest Talent Awards for next year, which we want to bring in, is more of that networking and kind of education portion of it for these artists to realize that you don't go out seeking that overnight success, because even if you get it, if you don't have your business right, you're not going to be able to capitalize on that moment anyway. So going after, that early in your career isn't really what you want. You want to build a catalog. You want to have your business right. You want to know how, when you do get that time, that spotlight shined on you, that you know how to get out and tour, and you have the pieces and the people, the team in place to actually make all of those things happen, because this industry
Yep,
is full of sharks, man. If you're coming out there and you
absolutely.
get that moment and you don't have good people around you, you're going to get swallowed up by this game.
Yeah, you don't want to be finding Nemo in a world full of sharks right now, and that's gonna be terrible for you. I'm trying to tell you. That's why I tell people like learn the business side. The business side is gonna be very important for you because all the stuff you're saying, like, yeah, you're gonna need that team around you. You don't want the label to just get everything and be like, oh, just give me my money. You don't even know how much money you're making.
Yeah, and that's where I think, because of a lot of success stories and nightmares, right? Success nightmares, yeah, big stars and then they're broke, right? I think
Yeah, we heard it from
most
everybody.
when
The
we were coming up, that was
TLC.
MC Hammer, right? That everybody knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest artists in the world, and 4 years later he's filing bankruptcy, and that's probably because he had some spending habits that weren't real
Yeah,
conducive
I
to
can
being
believe that one for
long-term success.
sure.
But there's been thousands of these now, right? Or people that get signed and think that the label's going to do everything for them, and then they get dropped and they're back, not even back to square one. They're back in the basement trying to figure out how they're doing it, because they let all of their rights go and they signed bad deals, and really trying to keep these young artists from ever making those mistakes is
Absolutely.
a big part of why I do what I do and what I want to continue to do for that world. And I feel like you're in the same boat there.
Yep, and I it ain't just like you said, it ain't just hip hop either. It's multiple artists and multiple genres. So, I work with EDM artists, pop artists, I work with country artists. So it's multiple artists that I work with just to show them like it's different avenues and different ways. Like everybody got their different type of path that they can take. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody don't have to be like a major label. Everybody don't have to be like through like a go through certain stuff through the industry either. So it's like multiple things that you can do and multiple ways you can move around. Just learn the business side first so you can decide where you can do. Maybe your songs deserves like sync placements or TV movies. So you don't have to do a lot of different things like the Spotify and stuff like that. So it's different options for different people. It just depend on your genre and the type of music you're doing.
Well, and some people can build extremely successful touring careers without
Yeah,
having the millions of followers and listeners and streams on your Spotify,
absolutely.
right? And I think
Yeah.
that's a key to me, because that's probably, we get paid fairly well up here in the upper Midwest to go out and perform because of the lack of talent that is around and just the lack of bands, but still just as much of a need for them. So a lot of Midwestern artists can do very well touring and don't spend a lot of time even recording their original music. Now, bands
Hmm.
and country and rock bands have the advantage of having the ability to cover other music and to
Yeah.
do that. And sometimes for us, I feel like the hardest thing to do is to balance that artistry with well, we can go out and make a few grand this weekend performing, but they want us to perform other people's music exclusively,
Hmm.
or a balance that is maybe more tipped towards the cover music than the other. But you can still be building your artist career even as a mostly cover artist, right? You can still be
Absolutely.
releasing your own original works and selling your merch and all of those things even as a mostly cover band. So there's just so many
Absolutely.
avenues in this day and age. And I know that you get out and play a bit, and obviously Cleveland came out to the Midwest Talent Awards and represented very
Yes.
well. Was really blown away with the scene that they're building down there. What are you doing to kind of get yourself, not just building the scene in Detroit, but reaching out to bring new artists from out of the city into the city, and you yourself getting out and touring at least regionally?
So I've been moving around recently. So I just did a show at Atlanta with Diamond and King of Diamonds and stuff like that. So with Crime Mob. I move around to Charlotte a lot, North Carolina areas. I'm going to Los Angeles June for the BET Awards and the Empire Brunch and stuff like that. So I work with a lot of people in Ohio as well. Dayton, Ohio. I work with a lady named Boss Lady Music. My guy Marquise, he worked with Benny the Butcher, Rick Hyde, and everybody like that. We partner up and do a lot of stuff. I just partnered with somebody else in Dayton, Ohio. They want me to come down there and do a show. So yeah, I'm working on a lot of stuff. Just moving around. Las Vegas, I got my guy Tommy Corvette out there. He throw a lot of shows. He worked with Morgan Wallen team, Lefty Gunplay, and all them like that. And yeah, I got a guy in New Mexico, actually Albuquerque area, and he throw a lot of shows there as well. He got a venue there, so it's a guy named Unique.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
that world tour is right on the verge, right? Moving around the whole country, and we just came home from. So Detroit was actually the start of our tour, and we can't mention the state of Ohio without talking about our girl Michelle and everything with
yeah,
Empowerment Divas Network and everything she did to bring to fruition the Midwest Talent Awards. I'm
absolutely.
so appreciative of her and being invited to come in and to bring my skills and my crew together. And really, that's what the Midwest Talent Awards were about, is not just one city, but about bringing this entire group that, this entire region that's, several million square miles full of amazing artists that just gets
Yeah.
completely overlooked on the national level. If you ain't from LA or New York, then people act like you don't exist. And Texas realized that a long time ago, and they're just kind of like their own country out there. And I got to dip in and to see some more of that. But what we're growing
Hmm.
is so much bigger than ourselves and our cities. It's really in bringing this entire area together. Now, one thing that I want to touch on, because you have a pretty good following on your Spotify, are you using data from your Spotify to help you dictate where you'll be touring and knowing where your fans are at?
Yeah, so I learned that kind of early on when I was doing the music stuff, basically actually through SoundCloud first, and then it just kind of like branched off to Spotify. So I learned that I got a lot of fan bases in a lot of multiple areas. So I was actually looking at a lot of overseas stuff too, because overseas like me a lot too. And I was trying to do something in Austria before the COVID thing hit, because they was liking me out there, and I was supposed to do a show with Jay Quan, I believe it was. But yeah, I actually look at that a lot. So that's why I was heading to like Miami areas, Atlanta areas like that, Chicago areas, Ohio areas, and most areas like me like that, LA areas. That's why I kind of branch out there. I actually did like Rolling Loud. It was like back in 2016, 2017, before X passed or something like that. It was around that time.
Oh, he's back. All right, good. I was like, oh
Yeah,
no, we lost him.
yeah. So yeah, that's when I found out I had a big fan base there.
Yeah, well, and I think that's something that a lot of artists don't even realize, that you have access to this data. You can see where your listeners are at and start to identify and to build your touring career around where you have listeners and using your social media as a marketing tool. Now, it's not an end all be all to your career, but it is a tool and it's a very valuable one, especially with TikTok being a great place for new artists to get discovered, and learning
Absolutely.
how it all weaves together is so important. And that's why each of us are, constantly educating new artists to get out there and do it, and to do it right. And I think that's a great thing that you got building out there in Detroit, and look forward to working with you again in the future, maybe collabing on some music here too. I think that'd be super fun.
Oh yeah, man. I definitely can't wait for that. I do production and stuff as well. So yeah, we can do that.
I love it. Well, Flyboy, tell everybody how they can find you, both online and around the city, and I'll let you get out of here.
Okay, you can follow me everywhere at Flyboy, or just type in Flyboy Rich. Everything should pop up for you. You can get my email at bookingflyboy, FLYBOI at gmail.com. I answer everything there. You need any help, anything like as far as marketing, anything with promotion, anything is like collaborations or just anything you need, just hit me up. I'm kind of like a cool person to help you through the industry. So I'm open to everything.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for giving me some of your time today. It was great to catch up after me getting to meet you a few months ago there in your city. And thank you for being part of the scene.
And absolutely, Bubby, you always a solid guy, man. And I appreciate you for everything you've been doing and everything you've been doing behind the scenes for everybody too, man. So thank you for everything you got going on. And Scenes Project, I like this, man. I like the scene and I like everything you got going on.
We'll see ya.
Appreciate you.